We on. God willing, the internet will cooperate with
Whew.
us today. Hello, everyone. It's Thursday.
All right. How you doing? Good.
Well, we hope.
Yes. So listen, like it or not, we are constantly faced with decisions. Some are big decisions, some are small, like, what am I going to wear today? What I'm going to have for breakfast? Or it could be a life-altering decision, like, what's my career path going to be? What's my job? Who am I going to be with? What's this relationship going to look like? Am I going to live in Florida? Am I going to live in California? All those things are life-altering decisions.
Important.
But making good decisions is really crucial to your entire life. Your well-being, your personal growth, your development, your success, your relationship with other people. And all of that can get to be a lot of pressure. And you can start thinking and overthinking and thinking. And then that leads to exhaustion. And it could also lead to not doing jack, which is my problem. I sit there and I start overthinking about all the possibilities and whatever. And before you know it, I am overwhelmed and I have not done anything. So,
analysis paralysis.
I just can't think about it anymore. Well, listen, surprise. You can get to a point where you can practice and develop how you can hone your good judgment skills and your decision-making skills so that you can move forward with grace. Might not be with ease, but you can move forward.
Pun intended. We'll get into that later.
I didn't even do that. That was like...
Pun intended. Keep going.
Move forward. Yeah. If you want to know more about what we're talking about, what we're going to talk about today, and good decisions and bad decisions and how they can impact your life and your career and your bag and all those things, stick around. This episode is for you.
For sure.
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, a mother.
And I'm Jessica E. Williams, a daughter. And this is a mother and a daughter truthful chat, where we discuss our 35-year multi-layered relationship.
We've been through so many ups and downs. Not only are we family, but we're business partners in the high-stress world of event planning and production for short films.
We've also shared the same therapist for over 10 years. What some people call codependence, we call collaboration.
So join us as we share stories from our lives,
have candid conversations with other mother-daughter duos,
and shed light on the roller coaster ride of being a woman while raising a woman.
All right, y'all. Welcome to Truthful Chats. Mugs up.
I'm getting my holiday on. Can you see that? Get your drink on.
Happy holidays, all. She's drinking hot stuff. I'm drinking cold stuff.
I'm drinking coffee. It's my second cup today, too, because
we all need it.
I'm trying to get my jingle on.
Anywho, welcome to Truthful Chats. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, okay, to the party or whatever you call it. If you're a regular here, a local, welcome back, okay? So if you're new here, this is just for your benefit. You can probably quote this by heart if you've been with us for any length of time. So Truthful Chats are designed to get us to the ongoing practice of generational wellness. If you have no idea what that term means, it's because we made it up. It is ours. So if you hear anybody else using it, that's a problem. Here at the Create Generational Wellness channel, the brand, every single month we have a theme. And then every single week we unpack said theme during our Truthful Chat time. So it's December, the last month of the year. Shout out to all of us for making it. Everybody didn't make it, but we're still here. And we thank God. It's December. The theme of the month is better. And if you clicked on this video, it's probably because you saw Jonathan Majors. But today's episode is called Better Judgment Leads to Wiser Decisions. Okay, let's just go ahead and start here. Before anybody, I just want to preface this by saying we're not going to go really one way or the other about this. I've been glued to maybe about 2-3 YouTube channels. I'm not on the X or the Twitters, so I kind of stay out of that, but I know it's where people are getting information from. So I want to salute the YouTubers that I have been watching. I might throw their names in the comments or something. that I felt like gave me like facts. Like it wasn't too much opinion. It was just one person was a lawyer, the other person is a YouTuber, but that like covers cases. So I felt like I was pretty up to date on what was happening. Okay. So we are not necessarily going to expound upon our personal feelings or judgments about said event. We are going to use this case as a case study, this trial as a case study in judgment, in decision making.
I do want to say this.
Yes.
Give credit where credit is due. We were right about Chris Brown and Rihanna, and we have been right about this one.
Say it again, louder for the people in the mic.
We were right about Chris Brown and Rihanna, and we have been right on this Jonathan Major issue from day one. But let's go.
I don't like to always be right, but let me preface that, okay? Because I can hear the feminists, I can hear what I would describe as toxic feminists.
We were right about the circumstances,
the circumstances,
the facts of how the case.
That's why I say saying all that to say, we have a rule that everyone should keep their hands to themselves, and when people are not keeping their hands to themselves, we are not the type of women that jump on the bandwagon of you were the aggressor, and then the person responded, and now you get to say you were being abused. We have called out what we have perceived to be toxic or unhealthy behavior in these sort of celebrity situations before, where most people have been like, I just believe the woman and the man is, and we usually go, you sure about that? Because there's just some things sometimes that we're usually in the minority as women.
When discussions.
Like, when we talk to women about this, they'll go on and on and on about how we wrong. We taking the man's side and this, that, and the third, blah, 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 blah. So
I just want to be on the side of right.
If you haven't figured it out, we are Team Jonathan Majors. Not saying that he's a perfect man, not saying that there may not be some things he needs to work on. But anyway, let's get into today's topic. Okay, so hopefully you've heard the colloquialisms. We've all heard them. Only God could judge me. Do you have one to throw on to that? Against my better judgment. You know, we have all these sort of judgment things that we say. But we're not really talking about judgment in terms, right, in terms of like only God could judge me. Is like you can't cast, only God could cast aspersion on me, right? Or like
I can do what I want and you determine, don't have a right,
right. You don't have to say, you don't have the authority to say anything to me about how I live my life because you're not in me. Really what that is a cry for empathy, which has kind of been my thing about this trial, right? When people are in a particular position of power or influence or whatever, it seems like sometimes as a community and as a people, our compassion meter or our empathy meter turns off. And we want to be able to like wag our finger at this person. But if we was in that position, we want everyone to have all the compassion and empathy for us. So that's how I always look at things. I also look at things in full context. My friends are annoyed with me when they be trying to tell me a story and I'd be like, go back. Because context, the container to which you put things is everything. You can't just start a story with me with, and she said this and da 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 da, and then I said this and I'd be like, whoa, back up. I'm like that across the board. I don't really care what the conversation is. So anyway, we're not really talking about any type of judgment that is about an assessment or opinion about a particular person's behavior. Okay. This judgment that we're talking about, we read this definition in an article today, but it says the ability to combine your personal qualities. So that's your personal temperament, your personality quirks, your values, all of those things, with your relevant knowledge
in a particular situation,
and your experience to form opinions and make good decisions. Okay, so that is, you know, you got to kind of know yourself. You got to know where you're coming from, your past traumas, all the things we talk about on this channel all the time, how you process information, how you assess things, and how that colors or changes or filters how you perceive and receive information or how you take things in. And then when you apply that to said current situation that's in front of you, how that shows up in the type of judgment and decision making that you have and what your skill set is in that area. And it's important for a lot of reasons. We're really gonna, these are like our main like top three things why we feel like that's an important thing. And so we're gonna talk about those and then we'll do like inserts and things from the trial of things that we observe that we think fits that category. I think that's how we should do it.
All right. I defer to your judgment.
So let's begin.
The first one is personal growth. So if you can't figure out how to have good judgment and how to discern what's going on around you and learn from your past mistakes, you're not going to be able to make informed choices and you're not going to be able to navigate through life with confidence. That's
with confidence.
So let me flip that. You want to be able to navigate through life with confidence. You want to be able to learn from your mistakes and you want to be able to make informed choices. So that means, like I like to always say, you have to pay attention, right? You have to pay attention to what you're feeling, what the other people are feeling, what's going on around you. And when you try to cultivate this practice of good judgment, then you make decisions that are aligned with your values, with your goals, with the things that are important to you in life, and with the path and the purpose that God has designed for you. Nothing worse than having a divine mission, a divine place you're supposed to be, and you're trying to get there, but you keep messing up because you're not paying attention to what happened in the past, to what changed, to where you should go, to where you should not go. Because what we're trying to do is to get to that personal fulfillment and that place of purpose. All right.
And exit there. Let's take, which was a Chris Brown and Elmo song, applicable. Okay, so let's bring this down to this Jonathan Majors trial. Mm-hmm. When we talk about learning from your mistakes, making informed choices, and navigating through life with confidence. But mainly what Pam said is, there's nothing worse than having something that you're passionate about, that you've worked hard for, that you sacrificed and sweated for, and you on your path and then you get knocked off. I think this is a very direct analogy. I think in terms of Jonathan Majors is, I think we all can, I don't even think it's arguable. He's a good craftsman in the world of acting. He has studied, he has trained. And in this particular instance, the clip, the audio, it's the clip that went viral, but the audio once provided context. I was kind of upset with Black women as a Black woman when I saw that Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama clip, the sound bite floating around, and I was like, I need to hear the whole audio because this sounds like
context
clickbait to me. Like I was like, this
it was clickbait.
I said this sounded like something that they knew was going to upset Black women, and they just was like taking it and running with it. But in hearing the full audio, okay, is it ridiculous for a Black man to look at a white woman in the face and say you need to be more like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama? Absolutely. But I don't think he meant it racially. I think he meant it as
character.
These are the kinds of women whose character I need for the trajectory of my life and where I'm going. And I get it. Some of y'all was like,
that's. Well, then he should have picked a Black woman.
But also it was cringeworthy the way that he was saying things to some of y'all. Like y'all, the fact that he was calling himself a great man, y'all feel is narcissistic, and who talks like that? For you. Go ahead.
Most actors are narcissistic in some form or another. That's just me. And I can say that because I have lived with and around actors for the last 40 years.
They monologue.
To some degree.
As an actor, I do.
And to some degree, I live with this one. I live with another one. There's a little bit of narcissism. In order to get out on the stage, it has to be in order for you to get out in front of people.
I don't really act anymore.
Exactly. So yes, yours is tempered because you don't really act, you direct, whatever. But in order to get out on that stage and become somebody
or
else,
in front of the camera or whatever,
in front of the camera or whatever, and it's just like anything else. Judgment can be good, judgment can be bad. Narcissism can be good and it can be
How do you use your powers?
twisted. It's how you use your powers. Do you use your powers for good? But being an actor and being narcissistic is not incongruous. That's all I'm just trying to say.
So for him to be sitting up here calling himself a great man and doing monologues that people felt were cringeworthy and uncomfortable is actually pretty normal. I'm just gonna go ahead. And and here's the thing. I think we have a very different perspective because we are an industry family. Not a Hollywood family, but an industry family. We're around working actors, some A-list actors. Like we just know how people are in this world. So I think when Hollywood,
in the acting
world, like so when if you're a lay person, it seems like everything is red carpets and makeup trailers and like it's really like an intense lifestyle. So and people's moods are up and down, like they're just
and a very
actors are
stressful
interesting
lifestyle.
people in a very stressful lifestyle.
I think people learned that a little bit with the strike because I think
for sure
people did have. I mean,
y'all had an idea.
Public,
the general public had an idea. Hollywood does a really good job of perpetuating that the lifestyle is more glamorous than it is, and they don't often show how much hard work it is and the stress of it. So what I do know is in that call, he had no lies. Like I didn't know where the lies was at. Like he was like, "I'm a great man. I'm doing great things for my culture."
And didn't he live in his car for a while?
He did. He was homeless.
So that's what I'm saying. When you have lived that story, Tyler Perry, this one, that, whatever. When you have given up
your whole life for a dream,
your whole life, you have sacrificed a roof over your head and this and family and food and whatever because you are passionate about following this dream. The closer you get to it, the more protective you are of it.
The more paranoid you get.
The more paranoid you get about it. And so it really is a big if you haven't taken that trajectory, it can be hard to understand what he meant when he was saying, "I'm a great man. I have worked really hard to become this person."
And he said, with my temper, with my trauma, and at least one other thing. So it's not like he is not a person who has not made mistakes, right? But I think he's trying to learn from them to make more informed choices, right?
Learn from your mistakes.
And he was walking in a pretty confident place and space for a minute, but I think, in my opinion, this was an unhealthy relationship period for both of them. I'm not necessarily saying he's an abuser. I don't really think that they proved that very well in the prosecution side. Like I said, he seems like an actor that has endured various levels of trauma. I think he grew up in some crazy situations, may have witnessed abuse. That's not unusual. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's an abuser. The jury's still out for me on that part. But, I'm not going to say that he's a perfect dude by any stretch of the imagination. And neither is she. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like a lot of this was very unhealthy on both sides. I was also not sure why these conversations were being recorded. Those were questions that I had. And so saying all that to say that I felt like this was a very sort of rookie mistake for someone in Jonathan's position to really be dating somebody with nothing to lose or not as much to lose as he has, giving this person a particular type of lifestyle that they were enjoying and seemed to not want to give up. And so, I think we could say on both ends for both people, there's definitely some personal growth and some development that needs to continue to happen. I think what was very sort of heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and I think we all kind of remember this as a public. I think maybe when Creed was coming out and Jonathan was doing some interviews and he was saying and doing some weird stuff and people was like, this dude should be on cloud nine. Like, what's going on? Like, things are great for you. But we found out through the course of the trial and the text messages that he does struggle with suicidal thoughts. Like at that particular time, he was in a very dark place. I think we all forget, like, he went through COVID like the rest of us went through COVID. So we don't know what happened at that time. It sounds like he didn't have a therapist at that time. I think he's gotten a therapist since. So I think a lot of what we were seeing was sort of just the volatility of that relationship in general on both sides, I think. So making sure that, there's some personal growth that needs to happen on both sides to improve judgment on both people's parts.
Because
Number 2,
judgment is absolutely essential to create a success path. So, and success looks very different for different people. But if you cannot exercise good judgment, Houston, we're going to have a problem because you have to make strategic decisions about your life, about your business, about who's in your life, who's not in your life. You have to make certain decisions if you're on a certain type of pathway for success. Specifically in this situation, on that Hollywood trajectory.
Right.
But whatever you're doing, you have a certain amount of success that you're looking to attain. If you're a teacher, if you're a football player, if you're a mom, if you're whatever you are doing in your life, there's something in your mind that you say, that is what success looks like for me. And if you can't make an informed decision and exercise your judgment about it, you're not going to move from point A to point B. You got to make decisions about managing your personal finances. You have to make decisions about who you're in relationship, who you let into your inner circle, who's on your peripheral circle, who's not in your life at all, because past experiences, the knowledge that you have learned relevant to this particular kind of decision has taught you some things. And so,
or it should teach you
or it should have taught you some things. So having the ability to assess those situations accurately and make sound choices is crucial to moving along the pathway of success that you're headed for.
And I think if we circle this back to this trial, right? I think that, to Pam's point in the first point about having a bigger purpose, I think despite, sort of the dark things that Jonathan was going through at the time, in that audio, the overarching theme, the Coretta Scott King thing, was I have a particular purpose in the path, and this is the type of partner that I'm looking for. Now, I say all the time, especially in that, I always tell my homeboys, I'm like, listen, if you got to explain it to her, she ain't it, okay? The fact that you got to be like, do you know who Coretta Scott King is? Barack Obama's wife. I'm like, bro, you can't turn no party girl into Michelle Obama, okay? That's not to say people can't change, can't grow, but she clearly was not in a position to be doing that. And he sounded like her dad on that audio being like, I can't believe that you would do this again. And, I think from the defense side, they were establishing that her drinking was a problem in the relationship overall.
Bad
Again,
choices.
I don't think that they had really proven the abuse thing, but I guess they, on their side, they're saying that was a thing. Anyway, but it's also like, for someone to be in a pressurized, high profile thing. It's like Jonathan Majors went from being a working actor, which is just getting a job and a gig when you can, to being offered roles, which is a very different experience for actors. And then being in very high profile, like when you in Marvel, you can't just be having anybody at the crib. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got watermark scripts that's out, you got highly sensitive information. And when you are in those positions, you sign contracts to be like, I'm being held liable and responsible for if any information gets out about this production. So for both of them to be working on something like Quantum Mania and her bringing one person or a couple people or whoever.
It's like you got classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, if we're going to take it there, yeah.
You have things in your house that should not be seen by anybody that hasn't signed an NDA or a contract or whatever, and you're bringing drunk people over to hang out and do God only knows what.
And that's irresponsible. Super problematic. And so I think that was the thing. But again, it was like, I have a particular plan and the path and the place that I'm going, and you're not lining up with this. And again, I think the first few times that happened, she should have been let go. But red judgment,
flag, pink flag, orange flag, I don't care.
Judgment, I'm like, sometimes it takes a couple of times for it to register. But what we've seen is his success has taken a hit, right? He made a mistake in terms of allowing this woman to probably way too much access into his life, which I would say was not a strategic decision. But we've seen his personal finances have been impacted.
All the things.
her relationships have been, all the things have happened as a fallout of just bad decision making.
And here's another thing I want to say, because we talk about this a lot all the time. You just mentioned it when you touch about him going from being a working actor to now a star.
Hard transition.
There is no training class for that. There is no school of this is how you go from being a poor struggling actor to be
living in your car
to living in a 3-story penthouse in Chelsea in Manhattan. There's nobody that has a school for you to go to walk you through that. And as long as you're making the money, nobody really cares about your mental health, your emotional bandwidth, none of that. They just want the check. It's like my brother and I were just talking about Draymond. What's his name?
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green. It's like the problems that they're seeing with him now. My brother said he had those problems in high school. So to just think you're going to drop money on it and it's going to change the character of who the person is just because they have money now is bad judgment.
Right.
All right.
And so I hope that, if there are other issues, that help is received, right? And that transition could be a little bit more smooth going forward in terms of you becoming, a better person all the way around. Because that's why I said none of us get through life, we say all the time, without trauma, without, situations and circumstances that happen to us that affect us and change us as a person. And, playing different characters and having to examine yourself inside of a character and the things that unlocks and making sure that you have a safe place to land when you come out of those characters. All of that really makes a difference, So I hope that going forward, some different things.
Well, that's the other reason why you need to have you need to examine your judgment and your decision making, because it's going to affect your well-being one way or the other. It's going to affect your well-being.
And can I just say this real quick? Because for the no class thing, it's kind of the same thing as, and everybody has their own relationship to them. But it's like the thing when Meghan and Harry came out and they were saying there are no princess classes. Like they just threw her in here and was like, all right, girl, you here. And she thought it was going to be one thing.
Julie Andrews was not there.
Julie Andrews was not there to give no class. Shonda had made that up, and we appreciate the Princess Diaries movies, but that was not a thing, right? That she thought that the family was going to operate a particular way. She didn't recognize that, the royal family is an institution more than an actual family. So there was a lot of things that she didn't know, right? And then her well-being started to suffer, right? And, Harry was strategic. He made some executive decisions. But I think that, again, our media, our culture really glamorizes things in a way that makes us think that certain safety nets, certain information, we just don't always know the truth about what's going on with things. Mm-hmm. And we think we know it. And then things like this happen. And we all got 50 million opinions about it without the real context and information.
Yeah. So, making these good decisions is going to lead to your mental peace. It's going to lead to your overall well-being. And if you can't get there, then you're going to have some stressful days because you're going to be operating in poor judgment. It's going to bring more stress. You're not going to be able to breathe. You're going to be hyped up. And the point is to get to a place where you can recognize, I'm going down this path. It's not the path I should be going on. What adjustments and alignments, realignments do I need to make to get myself back into a place where I can breathe? I can be in a place of mental well-being. Mm-hmm. I can be in mental health. And I can walk through my life, like I said, in confidence, knowing that when situations and circumstances come up, you can make a wise and informed decision, right?
Facts. And I think everybody's well-being suffered a little bit here, right? It's like, I think Grace is really embarrassed because especially after we all saw he's a runner, he's a track star. I have never seen anybody run that many city blocks
in heels
in my life. If you watch the Boondocks, because she run really, really fast in high heels. Yes. Okay. If I Don't Want You No More was a person, my God, like to push someone. I also want to say, did anyone else know that we were being surveilled this much? Like the amount of video and audio footage that they've been able to assemble of them out in public was astonishing. So just keep your head on the swivel, everyone. We're always being surveilled, and you never know when that stuff's going to be called into question. But you know, people's well-being was suffering. You got to think about it, you know, with and now people don't know this about actors. This is about the glamorization of it, right? People are working like 18, 20-hour days every day, having to memorize lines, having to stay on diet, having to get up sometimes before filming to work out if you in these, you know, body yada yada roles. Like there's a lot of sacrifices and things that go into it. And obviously at some point Jonathan's mental health was suffering. And I don't really know what to say for Grace. It was a lot that she was going through. Also, her well-being was suffering because you know she was crying a lot on the stand. And I just said before we started this out. I said, let me tell you why she was crying on the stand, because she had to look
at Cleopatra every day.
Cleopatra, Megan Monique Good in the face every single day. Okay. The Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama to Jonathan pictures. She was giving them locks, honey. They was giving complimentary outfits. They was giving Black excellence sauce. So, you know, best of luck to y'all in the next chapter of your relationship. But that's why she was crying and running away and didn't want to be showing the videos, because this girl was living the life. Megan is living the life, and there's a lot of things Jonathan don't need to explain to her. That's what I will say. Grace is 30, Megan is 42. Okay, so he had to hit the upgrade on them. Okay, and you got to think
life experiences. This is what I'm talking about. Yes. Life experiences, relevant information.
A working actress for years.
Informed choices, informed decision. All of those things go into creating better judgment. Period. So the stuff that you were dealing with that girl with, you're not gonna have to deal with that with Megan. She has lived enough life.
She's been in this industry
and made enough mistakes, learned enough things, whatever, so that her judgment is better. And when you are in a position where you're trying to move to a certain place, you need people around you with good judgment. All right? You can't be out here rolling in the street with
whoever, especially at that level. Yeah. If you happen to get to that level, especially not at that level. So listen, it's important to take a good, honest look. Okay. Self-awareness. I think, you know, as talented as Jonathan is, I don't know that he was the most self-aware, because this seemed like a pretty easy test to pass. But hey, you going through the industry, I don't know that you have a lot of mentors or OGs behind you. So, you know, hopefully next time, there'll be some self-awareness, some self-assessment to be like, okay, does this person match up with my life goals, what I envision for myself in a partnership? You know, and if the answer to those things are no, or whatever your thing is, you know what I mean? Does this job align with what I, you know, feel like? Is this the right school for my kids? Like, does this align with what I want? You know, whatever you're trying to use your judgment to make an executive decision or a better or a wiser decision about. You got to really take assessment. We talk about this all the time, about your strengths, your weaknesses, your biases, your values, your reasons for doing that, because knowing all those things will help you make a decision that is in alignment with who you are and where you're trying to get to. And then once you have that clear path, right, in terms of the clarity of where you want to go, then you got to start to look at the patterns of the decisions that you're making. There for sure should have been some pattern analysis here, and maybe there still needs to be, because, you know, some people are like, well, Jonathan has had, you know, history with some of these things before, and I'm like, okay, well, he in therapy now, so let's hope Grace is looking at her patterns. Okay, let's hope we never see Grace Jabari ever chasing another man of any complexion down the street ever again, because that's embarrassing as a woman. If he don't want you no more, girl, just walk away. He don't want you no more. Okay, so sometimes you have to look at the decisions you've been making in the past, and make an assessment. Are there recurring themes? Are there recurring patterns? Do you find yourself in these situations all the time? Are you constantly attracting the same kind of people? Do you and your kids always run into the same problems? Do you and your sister always get in the same rut about the fighting? Do you and your spouse, always get to this point in the conversation and then stuff go left? Like really starting to just unpack and reverse engineer what's happening around you that continually start to yield the same results or the same pattern
and or cause you to make bad decisions. For example, I hear people talk about, I just need retail therapy. So like you got an emotional issue going on and your answer for that is to go shopping. That's going to cause you to make some bad personal financial decisions. You don't want to do that. You also might feel a certain type of way, certain type of year. It's Christmas, it's cuffing season, I ain't got nobody, this, that, and the other. And that's going to last from now until February because Valentine's Day is coming up. So you need to look at from November to February, do you make certain late night phone calls, hang out certain places you don't need to be because there is an emotional feeling that you feel like you should be having at this time of the year and it's not happening. Like
all feelings will pass, by the way. All feelings.
At work. Do you have a hard day at work? You feel put upon, you did too much, but that was your decision because probably the people ain't asked you to do all that, but
you made an executive decision.
You made an executive decision. What is the emotional thing that's going on inside of you that causes you to make these same recurring decisions over and over again that are not good for you? All right.
And some of it might be medical. So remember we always talk about brain chemistry. Some people's brain chemistry is a little different. So you might need to take a couple pills, not sleeping pills, grace to bar, but with alcohol. But real, things to help your brain chemistry work in a way that is calm it all down. Okay. Or have a treatment plan, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, recognizing your patterns will allow you to be able to make some better choices. Okay. Commit to continually learning and growing. Okay. Honestly, throughout this whole trial, I just was like, this is really none of our business. I don't really be wanting, just act for me. I don't really want to know all this about your personal life, but the cookie has crumbled the way that the cookie has crumbled. Mm-hmm. For both of them. So I just, you got to continue to learn from your mistakes, grow, stay curious, seek new knowledge, challenge the assumptions you have. Like you're living life. Okay. You're living life. You're learning, you're growing, you're going through things, you're doing stuff. But the more that you learn, the better equipped you are to make informed decisions. We will say this as a caveat. Everybody is not meant to learn everything through experience. Okay. Some of y'all are on the experience train. You be like, now, seasoned veterans, elders be telling you, I did that.
You don't want to do that.
Let me give you the game. And some of y'all be like, well, that's you. That ain't me because I'm gonna. And then you come back with egg on your face because exactly what they said was going to happen. So when wisdom speaks, I'm just saying, listen, okay? You don't have to learn everything by experience. So I just want to offer that to some of the people who are like, well, they jumped off the cliff and they drowned, but I'm gonna fly. Not always, honey. Sometimes you're gonna end up in the same place. So when wisdom speaks, sometimes you gotta listen. Okay. I bet you if we asked Jonathan Majors, there was probably somebody around that was like, this girl seemed a little problematic. The people that knew, I'm a little off. You're like, nah, we got it, we good. Okay. So there's always.
And I guarantee you, like you said at the beginning of this thing, by that night, he was definitely knew he was done. So while they were even together, that was against my better judgment. That's an example of against my better judgment. I knew I should not have been out with this girl because I'm trying to get to Cleopatra. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But against my better judgment. So
I mean, and cheating is what it is, but it ain't a lock-upable offense. Okay. And that's why I said that speech that he gave came in.
And ain't nobody got no ring.
Exactly. 20. I know some of y'all don't believe that, but it's true. Because if he was talking to her like that, if the dad speech with the Coretta Scott King and all that in 2022, by March of 2023, he's probably off her. Okay, especially if her behavior isn't improving. And I know how that sounds. But if you're gonna be in a high profile relationship. I'm not saying that you should be accepting abusive behavior, but there are some things about your lifestyle that have to change. Security wise, you can't go everywhere. Like there's a way you got to move. And if you're not willing to make those sacrifices, then you don't need to be with that person because you're not willing to, like he said, I want to get to a point in that audio where your friends know what I'm working on and they know you're going to be out of commission for a while because you're with me. Now, if you want to be with them, if you're a square, stay in the square. But if you're going to be over here, we shut it down sometimes, okay? Which out of context can seem abusive, right? And not like we just are living on a different planet than some other people. And those are the things that need to be made. So practice good decision making, okay? And it's a skill that you can learn, okay? Judgment improves with practice. It's not like a one and done. The first time you do it, you're going to get it right. We're all learning, evolving, growing humans. And again, if you got to go through some experiences, okay, but not everything. Just listen to the people that are around you. If they already did it and they got the t-shirt and they went on a ride, okay, then just trust them. Tell you about it. Trust them. You ain't got to get on it too, okay?
All right.
I just got back from Disneyland this week, so sometimes you just let somebody else ride the ride. You ain't got to do it, and just trust they will
tell you, and then you can say, "Oh no, I can't. I don't want to ride that ride.
I don't want to do that
because that's gonna give me a headache."
So you just got to say,
"I don't want to get on that roller coaster because my stomach's gonna be upset." Whatever it is.
Okay, some things are individual, but most things are just general caution. So just take small steps to practice better decision making. You ain't got to do everything all at once. If you're trying to get better about eating, which we talked about last week, maybe just change out one or two things. Okay. If you're trying to get better about exercise, just maybe 1 or 2 times a week. Okay. Whatever your thing is, just you gotta take baby steps. I say it every week. Okay.
Decision making.
Just low stakes decision making, and then you'll get better over time.
All right, let's go back and talk about these patterns just a little bit. Although every decision is unique, there are patterns you can start to recognize that lead to good decisions and some lead to bad decisions. So here's something that you can do.
Poor decision.
Poor decision. Here's something that you can do that will help you have good decisions. Gather sufficient information, right?
Gather sufficient information.
Research. So taking the time to gather the facts, seek expert advice, analyze the data, talk to people about it. This will give you options, and options help you make better decisions.
And sometimes believe your eyes and believe your ears.
Yeah.
So many things can be avoided. If the first time somebody says something or do something, just believe it. Don't be like, don't put the filter on like, well, they didn't really mean that. And maybe that, bruh, they probably, that's the first answer. I said what I said. Don't gloss it over or whatever. Not to say people can't grow and change and evolve, but usually that first time was the honest to God truth. So just keep that in mind.
So the more information you have, the more you can weigh the options. This allows for a more comprehensive evaluation, so that can help you make a more informed decision. If you're narrow-minded or limited in what you think is a possibility, that's going to make your decision like, oh, I can never do that. That's never going to happen. They would never. All of the nevers are not good.
All
the nevers will make you limit your options, and that's not what you want to do. However, word of caution, as I mentioned earlier, with the overthinking, too many options is a bad thing too, because now you won't do anything because you're paralyzed. So you have to get yourself to that place, and this only comes by experience. A lot of times is where you
either your own or someone else's.
Your own or someone else, but experience is the key. You have to look and listen and say, that's a good option. That's not a good option. This, that, and other. I got 5 pros over here. I got 4 cons over here. I got 3. Whatever it is, you're going to have to like lay it out in a spreadsheet kind of like thing in your mental mind, however you do that, and weigh what are the options and what your choices are and where you can go from there.
And sometimes community is important, right? Because sometimes it happens. We put the filter on. We be like, I just love that person. They're so great. They're so this, they're so that. And you blinded. You can't see it in love and various other things. So, or that job or whatever, that amount of money or whatever. But if you have people around you who know your value system, know your goals, know who you are at like a core level, they can kind of check you a little bit or challenge you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you decide, like, I still want to do it,
I'm override.
Like, cool.
Objection. Overruled.
Right.
Sustained. Whatever.
Or they just want to be like, I'm still not 100% convinced, but okay, we'll go here and I'll be here to pick up the pieces. You feel me? So
yep.
Sometimes that's
bad decision patterns are usually based on emotional
impulsivity,
where you just decide, I don't care if I know it feels bad, this and that, but
I'm gonna do it anyway.
I'm gonna do it anyway because my heart, my other parts, whatever it is that tells you that you want to go on and do something that you know you shouldn't be doing. It can cloud your judgment and lead to some very regrettable decisions, right?
So maybe take a breath.
Yeah.
Maybe stop, pause, take a breath before you just try and play it out.
You gotta develop emotional self-control on a regular basis, though. You can't wait till you get into that tight situation and now you're gonna be practicing breathing or whatever. You gotta make that decision when you're driving in the car and somebody cuts you off. You have to regulate your emotions then.
You're not gonna get it every time, but you gotta try.
Yeah. You got in the grocery store, somebody cut in front of you or say, you have to practice how to have emotional self-control before the moment you need it. That will cause you.
Because I feel like a thing that's always saved me is I could always plan it out. Like Raven tunnel vision to be like, let's see what this would look like fully fleshed out. And if it's not good, then I'd be like, okay, Jesus, well, you got to help me. Because we need to step away from this. Yes?
Yeah. Learn from the mistakes. You did it once, it didn't work. You did it twice, it didn't work. You did it 3 times. Come on. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I look back over my life and I see da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's like, okay, wait a minute. Something is off here. Let me think about what it is. And if you repeat the same mistakes without reflection, without changing anything, without getting a different perspective, you're just going to continue making poor decisions. And like the old people used to say, I got my shirt on today. It says,
it's my daddy brand, y'all.
A hard head
makes
a soft. I don't know if
you gotta turn all the way. Yes. Oh, wait. So come back. Nope. I didn't say. Okay. So no, you can't see it. Yes. Now we can.
A hard head
makes a soft.
You know what? So that's my husband's saying. This is my husband's shirt. All the things, because it's true. If you can't get it in your mind that something needs to change, you are doomed to keep making the same mistake over and over again. And that is not good judgment.
It's not good judgment. And, again, like we said earlier, everything is not meant to be learned by experience. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is learn from other people's mistakes, their perspectives, so that you can.
I like to call that OPW, other people's wisdom.
Yeah, so that you could, avoid, like, why would you want to put yourself, how like they have the wood chippers? That's sometimes what I think of, like, some people decide to do. Like, you could be a perfectly intact piece of wood. Just learn from the other trees and assess your thing. But no, you want to be thrown in a wood chipper just to be like, I did that. I was in the wood chipper. Like, I came out. Like, there's no kudos or credits or extra credit or medals for doing things the hard way. Okay? If you ain't got to do it, don't do it.
Now you all chopped up.
I bet you if you asked Jonathan Majors today, like, bro, was that worth it? He'd be like, hell no. If I could go back to this day, I will make a different decision. So, allow other people's experiences to broaden your horizons. That's why OGs are OGs for a reason, okay? And wisdom is wisdom for a reason, because people did it before you, and therefore you can learn, okay? Trust your intuition. Women, sometimes we good at this, not everybody, but, you get that gut check. For those of you believe, you get that Holy Spirit check, like, nah, bro, that ain't it. That ain't the one. Like, that's not the job. You don't need to be moving there. And sometimes we override it. We are human. Sometimes that's part of the lesson. But it's a powerful tool when it comes to judgment, because it's gut feelings and instincts. And sometimes what happens is that feeling will happen and then our brains start to kick in, right? It's like we were talking about overthinking, and then we start to rationalize it and figure it out. But usually it's what it was the first time. Like you said, there's pink flags, red flags, huge elephants, and everything in between. But you'd be like, nah. So just trust your intuition.
And sometimes a white flag. You just have to surrender to what the Holy Ghost is telling you.
The white flag.
I give up. Wave that white flag and sit down somewhere.
I talked about it earlier. Also, consider the long-term consequences. So many times it saved my life. So many times where you just gotta think it through, and that's a lot of people's problems. They don't be thinking it through. They be going
Because
with
they be
the
going off of emotions.
emotional. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth taught us that. So if you're not, if you're impulsive, if you're emotional, and you have not made the skill of thinking about long-term consequences, and consequences isn't always negative. It's just what is the aftermath of you doing said thing? What could it potentially be? Based on the information you have, and sometimes based on the information you do not have. Okay, people put on a good front. That's why I said weigh people out. They're gonna show you who they are eventually. But you know, you gotta. How is that going to impact your future goals, your future vision, that purpose, that plan that you're trying to get to, and make sure that it's in alignment or not.
Or not. Emotional intelligence and conversational intelligence. I know a lot of people have never heard of conversational intelligence. We're going to get more into that next year. But it plays a vital role in your judgment. And if you do not understand the concept of emotional intelligence, conversational intelligence, how to develop it, how it can help you make decisions, how it can help you walk wisely, then you got to take into account rationality, empathy of other people. All of that leads to better outcomes. But if you don't know how to think about that, you're going to be thinking the wrong thing, and then ultimately you're going to be saying the wrong thing. And then that is going to impact the relationship that you have with other people and the conversations that you have and your whole life. Look at this thing. Look at this situation. Come on. Somebody should have known this is not good. The things we're saying to each other, the way we live in our life.
It's not a good relationship,
it's not healthy. It's not good. So what can we do to change that? So when you start to develop better judgment, it's a lifelong journey. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you make a commitment to yourself that you're going to try to use some of these tools, you're going to try to use some self-reflection, you're going to try to practice, you're going to be willing to learn, you're going to try to listen to other people's wisdom and perspective.
That happens
because that could help you sometimes. And so you learn from your mistakes. You prioritize the fact that I'm going to try to walk in good judgment here. I'm going to do whatever it takes to see if I can understand what's a better decision to make, especially once you figure out the patterns of where you keep getting messed up.
Okay, whether you pray, meditate, kick it with the homies, whatever, let it be something recreational and healthy, not craziness.
Or quiet and healthy. Just cultivate better judgment and watch, and you'll see an improvement.
And good judgment isn't always about being perfect, okay? I think everybody is an imperfect person, but for sure in this situation, everybody's not absolved of personal responsibility here. And there's some things that may come out later or might not come out at all. I don't know. But I think, Grace ain't perfect. Jonathan ain't perfect. Okay. So, you gotta, hopefully they're both in a place where they have had time to assess what this relationship was, and wasn't, and how things align with their values and goals and overall well-being going forward. I don't want to see either one of them in a relationship like they was in with each other. Neither one of them. Because it was trash and it was terrible. And it was a lot of stuff that I just didn't want to know. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't know. Okay. I just want to go ahead and point that out. It's a lot of redacted text messages. Okay. There's a lot of things. I think we know what's going on, but I still think there's a lot we do not know. And honestly, it's none of our business. So, the art of developing better judgment is possible. Okay. It's tangible. It can happen for you. Unfortunately, this was all a very, all over the world, open air, chaotic, scary instance that I hope we can all learn from these two people's experience so that we all don't find ourselves in some foolishness like this running down the street from somebody we probably didn't have no business being with in the first place. Okay. And now the world is watching it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Anyway, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to have bad judgment. We want to be on the path to generational wellness for ourselves, okay, and for others,
and for the culture,
So we're not messing up the bag, our reputations, everything in between, because it's not worth it. I think if you ask them both, it just wasn't worth all that. So let's do our best to transform our lives. Yes, let's continue to keep these two individuals lifted. Let's move on. Okay. I don't know what the closing arguments were today, but I'm going to check them out. Maybe we'll talk more next week, and we're going to keep everybody lifted. Okay. My prayer was that the truth will come out, and
here we go.
I don't think there's nothing else. That video was a lot. I had to watch it a few times and just be like, what's happening? So anyway, I don't know that we'll be talking about Mr. Majors next week necessarily. We could, but it will be
something better.
Something about being better, okay? Because we on our way to better in 2024. But you ain't gonna know what we talking about if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. Follow us on IG, Facebook, fan base. We're at Create Generational Wellness on all the things. If you want to stay in the know what's going on with 2024, just be with us, stay with us. Because we're gonna continue to hit you with this information and this hot fire. Dial on. So thank you all so much for being with us.
It's almost Christmas.
Happy holidays. I know this was like a very weird topic to talk about, but hey, this is where we
You're gonna need some better judgment.
You're gonna need some better judgment over the holidays.
Everybody getting on these planes, going home, doing this and that. You're gonna need to exercise some better judgment, make some wise decisions while you're home, so that you don't go into 2024 not speaking to nobody because of what happened at Christmas time. So,
wisdom speaks.
Make it do what it do.
With that, we will bid you adieu, and we will see you next week.
Love y'all.
Bye.